A team's identity is everything. And sticking to that identity as the season goes on is probably the most important thing you can do. And the Wisconsin Badgers may have just learned that lesson in the hardest way possible. Kansas City wins again, the only undefeated team left in the NFL. But I think the refs helped just a little bit. And who's been better this year, Jared Goff or Lamar Jackson? The answer may surprise you. That and more coming up on Sports Talk with Dad right now. Welcome back to another amazing episode of Sports Talk with Dad. As always, my name is Kyle, and I cannot call this Sports Talk with Dad without the man sitting next to me, a man who has officially voted in his 30th presidential election, my dad, Tim.
I have not voted in 30 elections. I don't even know how many I've voted in, but...
When did you start voting?
1980.
You've been voting age for 44 years?
Makes me sad.
That's crazy. You are old.
I am not
what
old.
Is that? So you got to take what? 44 years divided by 4, that's 11.
Okay.
So this is your 11th election.
Yep.
It's pretty close. I wasn't too far off.
Haven't always gotten it right.
Have you gotten one right?
Yeah.
Good to know.
Got a few right.
Like just guessing or voted for the right president? That's a big difference.
I voted for the right. I actually was pretty good about guessing.
Were you?
Yeah.
All right.
There are certain people I knew were going to win.
That's fair. All I know is I am supporting my candidate today because he is...
We don't talk politics here.
Well, I'm just saying he is not the hero we deserve, but he's the hero we need, and that is Batman.
Uh-huh.
Batman is
that
the answer.
explains the shirt.
So I'm supporting my candidate, which is Batman. Not Bruce Wayne, but Batman.
Let's face it, they're both kind of messed up.
Batman is not messed up. Batman is the perfect hero.
He's not a superhero. He's got no superpowers other than money.
He does. Money and brains. He's the world's greatest detective. He beats every hero he's ever faced and every villain he's ever
I don't think he'd beat the Hulk.
He would definitely beat the Hulk.
He wouldn't beat Martian Manhunter.
He has beaten Martian Manhunter.
He wouldn't beat Vision.
He definitely would be. He's beaten Superman. Are you saying Vision trumps Superman?
Okay, just because he had kryptonite doesn't...
That's a win. He's smart. He made a kryptonite bullet. He is the world's greatest hero, and he would be the world's greatest president.
He is so close to being the... No, he is the darkest, quote-unquote, superhero.
He's willing to cross the line, but not step over the line.
He won't kill.
Right. That is what separates him and the Joker.
He'll keep records on all of the other heroes.
Yeah.
He's essentially the old FBI leader.
No, he's essentially the world's greatest hero, and I think he would be the world's greatest president. So I vote for him. I will say during this election, it's Tuesday, we're recording. Wednesday is when this is posting.
We won't know who president is.
We probably won't know. But whoever it is, I hope they're the greatest president we've ever had.
Would you stop? I do have a last word.
I'm just saying, I just hope he or she is the greatest president we've ever had. That is what I am hoping for.
Well, thank you for cutting out my legs on my last word.
That's what I'm here for. It'll still be a great last word. I'm sure it'll be awesome. But the presidential seat is part of the identity of the United States of America. Part of the identity of your Wisconsin Badgers was running the football. But apparently that's not a thing anymore.
So you obviously read the article from the Badgers of Honor website that I sent you.
I do read the things you send me when you don't send them at 2 a.m.
That was pretty late, though.
It was pretty late. That's fine.
Anyways, the article claims that Wisconsin has lost their identity, which they've had for, 30 years?
My whole life.
Yeah.
We're a running team.
And control the line of scrimmage. They always had. They were offensive line U.
Correct.
Not that anymore.
No.
Not this season for sure.
They haven't been for a while. That really changed with Gary Anderson. They went back with, who was it? Paul Christ was the last coach. Yeah. And then he just quit recruiting. And Gary Anderson. Luke Fickell is trying to rebuild the team. My question is the air raid offense, it's cute, right? It's cute. It's fun to watch. You see him put up a lot of points against bad teams, but that's all it is. It doesn't get anybody anywhere.
I think Luke Fickell realized, I mean, he came out and said that the loss against Iowa, especially being dominated in the second half, was like the worst kind of nightmare he could have.
Yeah.
Which it was. Fickell's a really good coach. I don't agree with the Badger fans that are being stupid and calling for his head. He's still one of the best coaches in America.
Yeah, it's his second year.
He's having to adjust, and he hasn't brought in his own guys. Look at Harbaugh. It took him 5 years to get to a national championship.
6 years to get to a national championship. It took him 5 years to even be competitive.
And the Badgers will be back, I think, with what Fickell wants to do about recruiting his own in-state players.
Correct.
He's going to build his team. He's got to find his quarterback.
He's got to start reaching out to Ohio and Michigan is what he needs to do.
Well, I think he will. But let's face it, Brandon Locke was not the quarterback he thought he'd have. He thought he was going to have Van Dyke this year. He got hurt in game 1. Braden Locke is not your guy.
Yeah, but in college, though, you should have your backup be your next starter. Like I know that's not how college football really works anymore.
In the NIL age?
But that was always the idea,
Sure.
is your backup is supposed to be your next starter. Why do you think Alabama was so great for so long? Their backup quarterback was their next starter. So if a guy went down, you had a 5-star recruit sitting right behind him.
1, we're in the world of NIL. It doesn't happen anymore. Number 2,
it does happen. It's happened at Ohio State.
Braden Locke may grow into being a good quarterback. He's not right now. He's missing a lot of passes. They have found that Walker, the kid Walker, is a great running back.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping they're going to get back to being a power football team, find a great quarterback that can complete some passes, and it will develop.
Here's the thing with Badger fans. This is what you need to understand because, coming from a championship perspective over here, cheering for national champion teams in my lifetime.
I dropped you on your head when you were a kid.
To be a winner. My teams win. Packers, winners. Cubs, World Series. Ohio State, national championships. I cheer for winners. What can I say?
Oh, so you're a front runner.
No, I still cheer for the teams when they're dog shit. I definitely do. I just may not watch it as much as I do when they're winning.
You know what?
I will always the Badgers, you need to look at, you're not that far from where you want to be.
No.
Really not. If you make the playoffs, that's a huge win for the Wisconsin Badgers. Yes. That's the team that you are. If you can get to where Boise State is right now, that's a win for Wisconsin. And I'm tired of you people, Wisconsin fans, thinking that you're a national championship program. You're not. You never have been. You finished 4th in the country when Ron Dane was your running back, and he just ran over everybody.
And top 5 or 6 when Russell Wilson was the quarterback.
When you guys choked away the season because of bad coaching.
That was... Don't get me started on Bielema. That was his fault we lost against TCU.
I mean, but you still didn't compete with the big dogs.
The Badgers had the ability during the Barry Alvarez years and the Brett Bielema years to be a top 10 program.
Right. You had big old farm boys on the offensive and defensive line.
And a big running back from New Jersey.
Big old running back from New Jersey. Still think there might be mob connections there. But that's what you are, and just accept that's what you are. It's still the Big 2 and Little 8 and the Big 10. And now you got the Big 4 and the little however many teams
I think it's going to be the Big 2, which is going to be Oregon and Ohio State instead of Oregon and instead of Michigan and Ohio State.
Man, have they taken a step back.
Wow. Yeah, but I mean, Oregon's clearly the class of the Big 10 right now. They're both going to be in the playoffs.
Ohio State's class of the Big 10 too, and Penn State's pretty good as well.
Penn State is very, very good.
What do you think about Howard just shoving it in Penn State's face? That was awesome. It made me so happy. It's a championship team. It's a championship team.
I want to go and see a game at the Shoe, but not with you.
You got to come see it with me. They don't have to face the Badgers. You can cheer with me when they're facing somebody else.
Oh, I would not cheer with you. Let's make this clear. I will be cheering for whoever is playing Ohio State.
I cheer for your teams. Okay, I don't. But I laugh when they lose, but get happy for you when they win. You're not ever happy for me when my teams win. You are with the Cubs, but you're a borderline Cubs fan.
I'm a
but when it comes to
diehard
Ohio
Cubs.
State,
I was a Cubs fan long before you were even thought of.
Cheer for the Brewers.
Yeah.
So it doesn't count. You're either in or you're out. And you're out.
Be both.
No, you can't ride the line. It doesn't work that way. But you don't ever
Anyway.
cheer for Ohio State. You literally root against Ohio State, and it drives me nuts.
Good. I'm glad. I dropped you on a head as a
One
baby,
thing-
and you became an Ohio State
I
fan.
became a fan of winners. That's what I became. On to identity, though. Ohio State's always had that identity, right?
Yes.
They're a wide receiver U. They're going to recruit wide receivers.
They're always the fastest team in the Big Ten.
They're going to make sure they're fast. They're going to make sure they have a running back. They're going to make sure they have offensive linemen. And then the quarterback's always a question mark at Ohio State. I think this is, although we went Justin Fields, C.J. Stroud, but before then, I mean, the best quarterback I had was Craig Krenzel, who won a national championship, to be fair. And we had Joe Burrow on the team as well.
Joe Burrow is an LSU quarterback.
Did he play for Ohio State?
For a second and a half before he got sick of you people.
Ohio State quarterback. He's sick of Urban Meyer for going with Dwayne Haskins instead of him. Thank you very much. Still an NFL quarterback. And then it's solid defenses. Wisconsin was always run the ball, solid defense.
Right.
And that's where they stayed in games against big teams. They didn't always beat them, but they stayed in games that way. So going away from that, not having those big offensive linemen, not having that big defensive front, they're just completely going away from their identity.
And Fickle is going, I mean, Chris barely had a strength program. Fickle is instituting that. They're going to get stronger. He's got to have a chance to recruit his guys.
He does. It's year 2.
It's
right?
year 2.
Fickle's a great coach.
Give him through year 5 or 6, and let's see then what we've got. I'm still worried that if Ryan Day takes an NFL job, Luke Fickle is going to bunny hop down to Columbus.
You 100% will. Why wouldn't you? Bigger paycheck.
Would Ohio State
Better
hire
team.
him at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
they would.
Wisconsin's terrible. And that's not Luke Fickle's fault. That it's a terrible, terrible team.
The cupboard became very bare. He's having to
It's
start.
rebuild.
He's having to start from nothing.
Well, and that's what I think your fan base doesn't understand.
Of course, they don't understand it.
Like, it's ridiculous. Like, you are completely starting over right now. It's the same thing with Michigan's fan base back in the day. And it's the same thing that would happen to Ohio State if this happened there.
Right.
You're hungry to win. The problem is Michigan's used to winning. And so it makes sense where they were getting frustrated.
Wisconsin was used
Ohio
to.
State's used to winning. Wisconsin's used to being a middle of the road team. Sometimes top middle of the road.
They were used to 10, 11 wins in a season.
They were used to beating Iowa.
Yeah, exactly.
They were
Exactly.
used to beating Iowa. They were used to beating USC.
They were used to beating Illinois. They were used to beating Minnesota. Northwestern would come and bite them in the behind every once in a while. But they would compete against everybody. They would even win once against Ohio State on a Saturday night.
That's
We
because
were-
Terrell
we were-
Pryor was our quarterback.
We were there. And it was such a good game.
Yeah. How many passes did Terrell Pryor miss? A lot. I don't want to hear about it. Like I said, bad quarterback play.
It was.
Had it for years.
But to all my Wisconsin brethren out there, give Fickle some time. He is a great coach.
Don't give him time.
He's frustrated, absolutely, because he knows he doesn't have the talent to win right now.
He does not. But don't give him any time.
Give him all the time.
Kick him out. We'll take him at Ohio State. Sounds good to me. He's a defensive guy. His defense really let him down. That's got to be fixed. I could see Mike Tressel being fired because that's a piss poor performance.
He's going to have to
Somebody's
fire
got to
somebody.
take the blame for getting 42 points put up against him. Now, I will say the Iowa quarterback, what have I been saying all year long? I think he's going to be a first-round draft pick.
Let me ask you this. What about Phil Longo? They only put up 10. I don't think they have the talent on offense yet.
I questioned the Phil Longo hire when you guys brought him in. I don't understand. Air raid in Big Ten make no sense.
It never has.
It's the same thing. Rich Rodriguez came in with Michigan. He also didn't get a fair shot. He just got his players, but it was going downhill quick.
Gary Anderson tried it. That was a
Can't get
disaster.
small in the Big Ten. They're still trying to get big. Let's see what they can do with their recruits. But that was embarrassing. Did you feel embarrassed?
Yeah, and so did Fickle, who came out and said that second half, especially being dominated. Yeah. He's not used to being dominated by anybody.
No.
He said that was my worst nightmare.
You know who wasn't embarrassed on Saturday?
If you say it, I'm going to.
The Ohio State.
We're moving on.
Moving on, another Wisconsin team, and then we have a lot of football to talk about this week. The Bucks have started 1-6. This is the worst record Giannis has had since really when he came into the league. And this is where you have the most overrated coach in all of basketball. This is a Doc Rivers effect. Since Doc Rivers has taken over the Milwaukee Bucks, he has a 400 record, if not worse at this point.
I put more of this on the general manager.
Why?
For firing Bud when his brother had just died.
That was bad.
And we've rolled through coaches since then.
But you had the coach, I forget his name at this point, but you had a head coach in Milwaukee who was 30-16, more than halfway through the season, and you fired him. And then all of a sudden you bring in Doc Rivers.
Yes. Griffith.
And you bring in Doc Rivers, who doesn't win with this team, and this is just a carryover from last year. Everybody's like, give him an offseason and he'll be great. You gave him an offseason. He's 1-6.
It's a very old team. And I have
Giannis is 29 years old.
Hold on. Yeah, but then you have Lopez, and you've got all the parts around her. Even
Bobby Portis.
Bobby Portis is very old. But even Dame is at the end of his career looking for a championship.
Right.
I got to be honest with you. At this point, I think it's time for a Kareem-type trade back in 1975, for those who don't remember. I do.
Because you were 53.
No, I was 15. The Bucks traded away Kareem. And to Kareem's credit, he went to the Bucks and said, look, I want to be on one of the coasts.
Yep.
I'm a big city guy. Got you a championship, but now I'm looking to move on. And he allowed them to trade them. And the Bucks traded Kareem to the Lakers, and they got Elmore Smith, Brian Winters, Junior Bridgman, Dave Myers, and Walt Wesley. All guys who played a part on that team and kept them competitive. Were they a championship level team? Absolutely not. They brought in Bob Lanier later on to try to do that. Sidney Moncrief came in, but at least it kept
Boston
the Bucks.
Celtics were the nail to their coffin.
Well, it was in the East. You had Detroit that was getting good.
But how many times did they lose to Boston in the 80s?
Oh my God.
Yeah,
they were never going to beat the Celtics in the 80s. Let's face it. But in the late 70s, this at least kept the Bucks somewhat relevant.
Yeah, it was a good move for them then. You have to do it now. Giannis is tired of being in Milwaukee. He's a big city guy. So is Dame. It's time to move on.
Big trade rumor I heard today was Karl Anthony Towns in New York, plus some draft picks, because the Bucks don't have a draft #1 first-round pick until 31.
They went all in with Dame.
Yeah. So,
but even with,
if you bring in Karl Anthony Towns, who doesn't really like New York, and you get some draft picks, can you rebuild?
Here's the thing, though, okay? You have Dame and Giannis on the same team.
I think you trade them both.
You should be able to sneeze and be 500. This is Doc Rivers' fault. This is Doc Rivers being the most overrated. He is the Jeff Fisher of the NBA, and I think he's worse than that.
Okay. Here's the problem. They're paying Bud. They're paying Griffith.
And you're paying Doc. Yeah, I get it. You're stuck with him.
You're stuck.
This is you digging your own grave. This is embarrassing. This is ridiculous. And now Giannis is hurt. He has an abdominal whatever. I think he's just tired of getting his ass kicked. This is a real bad team that shouldn't be this bad.
No, they shouldn't.
This is coaching. This is you not doing. How many pick and rolls have the Bucks done? 0? Maybe 2. You have the greatest pick and roll artist of all time in Damian Lillard, and a guy who would thrive in that type of situation in Giannis, and you're not doing it. This is all coaching.
I've got nothing, because this is the ugliest team I've seen from the Bucks since the 90s.
Do you think Giannis would want to go to the Knicks?
Yes.
Or do you think he want to go to the Lakers?
I think he's given the choice. I just think he's outgrown Milwaukee.
He outgrew Milwaukee a couple years ago.
I mean, he is a nationwide star. Milwaukee is a nice, quaint town for certain people. I just don't see it anymore with Giannis. I think it's time to move on. And I love Giannis. He brought us the championship. He loves Milwaukee. He
always will.
He always will.
Same as Kareem.
Yeah, exactly. Kareem is beloved in Milwaukee, and he's got a very large soft spot for Milwaukee. But it's time to move on from Giannis, because you got to blow it up and rebuild it. And the problem is,
there's no rebuilding. You're done.
You got to blow it up, try to rebuild. You bring in Karl Anthony Towns is a good start, but you still have Doc Rivers as your coach.
And that's what screws you over. This is Doc Rivers being the most overrated coach in NBA history, the history of the NFL. He is more overrated than Steve Van Gundy. I mean,
That boggles the mind.
This is absolutely, he's more overrated than Jeff Fisher was in the NFL. He is the most overrated coach.
He's won one championship in Philadelphia.
Because of Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, they got on a very great hot streak, ran it through, and were done.
He's given all these star players always the Sixers, the Clippers, and wins nothing. Okay. Absolutely nothing.
Now you've depressed me with two of my teams. I am going to talk one quick basketball story because I think it's going to make the WNBA even more fun to watch this year. The Fever bring in Stephanie White, who was in Connecticut, but former Miss Indiana basketball. She won a championship with the Fever. Finally, they got the right coach with the right player.
Well, I tell you what.
Caitlin Clark is going to have an unbelievable year next year.
The WNBA better start embracing Caitlin Clark because in Europe, they're embracing her with everything they have, chanting her name.
They want her.
They want her there permanently. And if the WNBA is not careful, Caitlin Clark is not coming back.
You better get a hold of your top line
talent. They're on a work stoppage right now, by the way, in the WNBA.
Yeah, that was brilliant too. But the WNBA better get a hold of their current stars. Really, they have one star. It's Caitlin Clark. Get a hold of everybody else and go, this is the horse we're riding. Treat her with the respect she deserves.
Or if not, the WNBA has to back her up and make sure that she is protected by those referees.
They have to do what the NBA did with Michael Jordan, with Larry Bird, with Magic Johnson. Just pick your
LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Shaq.
You
Kobe
protect
Bryant.
Your stars. It's about the name on the back of the jersey, not the name on the front of the jersey.
That's basketball. One player can make a huge difference in basketball. In football, not so much, unless your name is Patrick Mahomes. And the only reason it makes a big difference when you're Patrick Mahomes is because the referees are completely on your side. You saw that false start penalty, right?
No, there was no penalty called.
You are out of your damn mind. You agreed with me.
I saw nothing.
Don't start this nonsense on the show.
There was nobody that jumped on that offensive line.
You were on my side with this.
I saw nothing. I don't know what you're talking about.
10 minutes ago.
What, really?
We did a pre-show conversation. You agreed with me, and now you're doing this bullshit. I don't want to hear it.
The refs don't protect the Chiefs any more than they do any other team. Come on. What are you talking about?
He was over the line of scrimmage on that touchdown pass when he got hurt. He was over the line of scrimmage.
He was on the line.
Over the line of scrimmage.
No, he wasn't.
He was over the line of scrimmage by the time that ball left his hand.
Let's forget about Kansas City for a minute because I think Tampa Bay screwed up even more. Tampa Bay comes down at the end of the game, scores a touchdown to tie the game.
To get
within 1 point. So they have a choice. Do they kick the extra point, or with all the momentum in the world, do they go for the win on the road in Kansas City? The coach, Todd Bowles, goes, no, with the wet conditions, we'd rather flip the coin. Fine, you lose the coin flip, you give it to Patrick Mahomes. Guess what's going to happen? He's going to go down and score. Game over. You always go for two in that situation.
Listen, Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback in the NFL right now.
Oh my God.
Arguably the greatest quarterback of all time, at least in a 5-year span. He's amazing.
He is.
The refs are helping them out a lot.
That's not what we're talking about here. I'm talking about Tampa Bay and what they did to screw up that game last night.
Never should have been in that situation because it was a false start late in that drive, and then it was also over the line of scrimmage when he threw that touchdown pass.
Get rid of that. Tampa Bay goes down, and they win. They have a chance to win the game.
On the road, you go for the win.
It was stupid, coach. And to come out and say, well, it was wet out. Yeah. So why would you take a chance on a foot slipping on an extra point when you could just go for two? You have all the momentum. Even Andy Reid came out and said, I'm really glad they didn't go for two.
You got to go for the win in that situation against an undefeated team.
In Kansas City,
you have to go for two.
You cannot take a chance on giving the ball to Mahomes because he's going to march down the field and score a touchdown.
Correct.
Hurt or not.
Correct. Listen, Mahomes is a monster. You notice Mahomes isn't tapping out, right? Even after that injury.
He's never going to tap out.
He's a great player. He's a great player. DeAndre
He's a warrior.
Hopkins is a huge help on that team. It's just I'm so sick and tired of seeing these calls not being
Okay.
made against the Chiefs.
Hold on.
This is the NFL, not the NBA.
I want to see what the fans think,
You let us know what you think in the comments below.
the viewers.
And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it.
I make an assumption that they're fans.
Or
Viewers.
They're viewers. I think they're fans. Of one of us, at least. I am just saying, I'm tired of it. I don't want to see the refs continue to help out the Chiefs. I don't.
As long as we're going down this cranky road today, and this show is turning real cranky from both of us, what the hell happened with the Bears?
Caleb Williams is reverting to his college self, and this is what happens.
So DJ Moore, who ran off the field on the last play, by the way.
He's scrambling. The ball should have been thrown to him.
Should have been.
He was wide open for a first down. Instead, Caleb Williams, who sees him clearly, refuses to throw that ball, and DJ Moore just says, screw it, and goes and sits down.
And then after the game, he's asked, has Matt Eberflus lost the team?
I'd like to say no.
I want to say no. Question mark, question mark. Matt Eberflus is not the coach for this team. He is not handling Caleb Williams well. At some point,
Caleb Williams isn't handling Caleb Williams well.
The Bears, and this is for all my Bear fans, and I do have a few.
Why?
I don't know, but I do. Anyways, the Bears finally have to open up that welded wallet of theirs, go and get Ben Johnson from Detroit. You're going to hurt Detroit by taking him, and you're going to help your team, and he may be able to do something with Caleb Williams.
If I'm Ben Johnson, I'm not touching the Bears with a 10-foot pole.
It's a great job if you win. He could turn that team around.
Is Caleb Williams coachable?
That's the only question I have. Jaden Daniels, is clearly the rookie of the year.
Yes.
He's coachable. He's playing great football.
Yes.
He's taking the lessons that he's been given.
Bo Nix has given him a run for his money the last couple weeks, too. He's not the rookie of the year. I want to make that clear.
Right.
But Bo Nix has been playing very
great.
well because, he's coachable. Caleb Williams is running. How do you not make that throw to DJ Moore for the first down and then for him to step out of bounds? How do you not make that throw?
I don't know.
If I'm DJ Moore, I'm also just going and sitting down because clearly this guy doesn't know what the hell he's doing. It's a rookie quarterback who's scared out there, not used to the speed.
Still playing college football.
Garbage teams, still playing college football. You can't keep playing like this.
You've got to take what you can get in the NFL, and if you've got somebody on your side,
throws an incomplete pass to another open receiver.
I understand that. My only thought is he was going to the left. Does he not like making that going to the left throw?
You better be able to make that throw in the NFL.
And he has made it before. He should be able to make it.
He's looking. What was the thing I said about Caleb Williams when he came into the NFL? He's a guy who doesn't take the easy play. He's always looking for the big play down the field. And in college, you can get away with that against bad teams. And he did a lot. You don't get away with that in the NFL. And he had a wide open as you get in the NFL, DJ Moore for a first down to step out of bounds and didn't take it. And instead continued to scramble and made a bad throw.
And waste time on the clock.
Throw and win the game. The last two games, you know how many touchdown passes Caleb Williams has thrown? 0. 0 touchdown passes.
There's a reason for that. He is not taking... In the NFL, the biggest thing is you take what you can get short, and if you see something long, it's a surprise and it's a bonus.
He did drive the Bears down the field against Washington, lost on a Hail Mary on a bad defensive play.
Again, coaching.
But then you came back and looked like that against the Arizona Cardinals, and the Arizona Cardinals defense has been surprisingly good this year. But for you to play like that after a performance against Washington where you also didn't look good, you had one good drive at the end of the game, and that's it.
Bear fans are going, not again.
It is again. This was a bad pickup. I'm not saying Justin Fields was the answer. I was before. I saw him now. I get it. But again, I think he was ruined by Chicago.
No, he was ruined by Ohio State, as they all are.
Yeah, winning national championships is definitely ruining quarterbacks.
How they do in the NFL.
He didn't
win
a national championship for Ohio State, but he was there.
Again, Matt Eberflus is not the coach for this team. It was a desperation move. They're doing everything desperate because Eberflus's job is on the line. Their GM's job is on the line. They're going to clean house. I dump everything to try to get Ben Johnson. Bring him over from Detroit, because I think if anybody can turn that, if number one, he's an offensive coach, a brilliant offensive coach. If anybody can turn around Williams, he's the only one.
Well, let me ask you this, okay? Because we're looking at coaching positions that are open right now. The Saints just fired Dennis Allen, which is way overdue. By the way, that's the second time Derek Carr has gotten him fired for two different teams. You're going to have the Jacksonville Jaguars probably going to be open at the end of the year. You're going to probably have the Chicago Bears that's open at the end of the year, which I still think is the wrong thing to do, but you got to do what you got to do. Who else is going to be open at the end of the year? There's a few teams out there. So if you're Ben Johnson, if I'm Ben Johnson, I'm looking at Jacksonville, because that's a team that is a coach away from being really good. I am not going near the Bears.
If I'm Ben Johnson, the upside on the Bears is huge.
What about the Jets? What about the Giants?
I don't think I would not go anywhere near the Jets job.
What about the Giants?
No quarterback. I don't go near them either.
You can get a quarterback.
Maybe, but this isn't a huge quarterback draft.
We'll see what happens at the end of the year with them. But the Bears, to me, is not the answer. I don't trust Caleb Williams. I just don't. Everybody talks to him like he's this playmaking machine. Then why isn't he making plays? Because Jaden Daniels sure seems to be making plays. And you can't say he doesn't have any wide receivers. He has plenty of wide receivers.
He does.
He has plenty of offensive weapons. It is not a problem that Jaden Daniels is having with less. So why is Caleb Williams having so much issues? He's panicking.
Well, he's panicking. He's not taking the coaching he's being given. He's trying to play his own games. He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, right, and he's not. You've got good coaches there. Listen to what they say. Jaden Daniels is taking all the coaching from a defensive coach, by the way. Dan Quinn is, but he's got good coaches around him, and he is playing out of his mind.
Right. You look at it, I mean, we saw in Green Bay what happens when a quarterback refuses to play the offense that the coaches are giving him. Aaron Rodgers played his own offense, got 2 NFC championships, he won 2 MVPs doing that, but it's Aaron Rodgers. It's a little bit of a different ballgame, but now we're seeing what Matt LaFleur is able to do with the Packers, with a quarterback that is willing to run his own offense.
We'll talk about that in just
a very big difference.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
If you're trying to run an offense, a successful offense that has worked really well with Jared Goff, why would you go to a quarterback that you don't know if he's going to listen to or not?
Well, and Ben Johnson may be one of those rare guys who just says, you know what? I'm a great offensive coordinator. I'm great at what I do. I'm just going to keep doing this.
And he's been doing that.
And if he chooses to do that, God bless him.
But if he's going to win a Super Bowl this year with the Lions, you got to assume he's going to go and take a head coaching job. He wants to win with the Lions. They have a real good shot this year.
Mm-hmm.
After that, you got nothing more else to prove in Detroit.
So Micah Parsons, on his podcast today, said something very interesting. He rated the top clutch quarterbacks in the NFL.
Okay.
Number 1 was Mahomes.
Yeah.
Number 2, Stafford.
Sure.
Number 3, Rodgers. Number 4, Allen. He was a good teammate on number 5.
Is this today?
This week. Number 5, he's a good teammate. He picked Dak Prescott.
But I'm saying, is this like this year?
Yeah.
Or career?
No. This year.
Then Rodgers shouldn't be on this list.
Hold on. Would you let me get through what I'm going to say? Then you can react. Thank you. Here's something I looked up that I thought was very interesting, because I wondered why Kirk Cousins wasn't even discussed.
Right.
In the last 4 years, Kirk Cousins has had 17 come from behind wins.
Yeah, he's great.
You know how many Rodgers has had?
1.
4 in the last 4 years.
Right.
Now, granted, he missed all last year. But Kirk Cousins is an old man coming off an Achilles.
Yeah.
If I'm looking, and Rodgers has never been that big fourth quarter comeback guy. He's done it. He was for a while. He was for a while, but in the last few years.
Then the Seattle NFC Championship happened.
You're trying to ruin my day. You really are.
I'm not trying to, but if I'm succeeding, I'm happy.
Of course you are. I'm just saying, if I'm going for a clutch quarterback, I'm putting Cousins in the conversation before I've got Rodgers there, especially this year. Rodgers just doesn't look
really bad.
Rodgers has played really, really bad.
He's capable. He played decent last week.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a big game coming up. I know we're going to talk about in a little bit here against Arizona. He has a very winnable schedule the rest of the way. And he had Garrett Wilson, who had a monster game. Devontae Adams ended up having a really good game. And I know Garrett Wilson had a monster game because he was on my bench in fantasy football. Both of them showed up. The running game looked decent. It was a team that finally looked like it was gelling. And I feel bad for Saleh because I think they'd be gelling under Saleh as well. But I don't know. I don't know what was going on inside that locker room.
Well, let's talk about the best quarterbacks in football.
Sure. Because I noticed Lamar Jackson wasn't on this list, and
Jared
Goff was not on this list.
And
those are the best two quarterbacks in football right now.
Right now. Sunday, Lamar Jackson became the first quarterback in NFL history to have 4 perfect quarterback rating games.
He was great.
He was unbelievable. He only ran.
I take everything back I said about him earlier in the year.
He ran for less than 10 yards.
He had -8 at halftime.
Right. He killed him with his arm. Derrick Henry has been huge for them.
I was just going to say, it's amazing what you can do when because they've never had any running backs. Last year, their 2 running backs were hurt the last preseason game. And so they had like 11 running backs last year. It was a carousel of people trying to just figure it out. And so Lamar Jackson was really forced to be that runner. This year, he has a running back who is carrying that team, which allows Lamar Jackson to sit back, throw the ball, and get some extra time.
And the Lions also have a great running attack.
Yeah.
So I put together a comparison. I want you to take a look at it. I sent it over to you.
All right.
Lamar Jackson, 174 completions. Jared Goff, 158 attempts. Jackson, 255. Jared Goff, only 211 attempts. And he's completed 158. 68.2 completion percentage for Jackson, 74.9 completion percentage for Jared Goff. My question is, who's the better quarterback?
I mean, it's Lamar Jackson with these statistics. 2,379 passing yards versus 1,840 for Jared Goff. Jared Goff on this list, he's literally only one at completion percentage, which is huge. Don't get me wrong. He also isn't throwing the ball more than 10 yards
He's more
downfield.
efficient.
Lamar Jackson, 20 touchdown passes to Jared Goff's 14. Lamar Jackson only has 2 interceptions. Jared Goff has 4.
I would argue this. They are the perfect quarterbacks for the systems they're being asked to run.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, Lamar Jackson, yes, is...
You put in rushing stats, but Jared Goff's not a runner.
Lamar Jackson is a much better athlete than Jared Goff. But Jared Goff right now is one of the top 2 quarterbacks in all of football.
Well, how do you feel for Jared Goff?
And I know Mahomes is the best.
Mahomes is playing like garbage this year. Absolutely
He'll
garbage
still win the games.
I understand.
But Jackson and Jared Goff have been playing outstanding. I mean, Jared Goff took the Lions in this first outdoor game all year. Weather is awful.
Yeah.
And dominated.
Yeah.
He was 11 for 11 at one point.
Made a lot of mistakes.
11 for 11 at one point.
He's a great quarterback. He's finally showing why he was the number 1 overall pick by the Rams. He's playing to that level now. He's in a system that's working really, really well for him. He's having an MVP season. Unfortunately, Lamar Jackson is having possibly the greatest statistical season of any quarterback in the history of the NFL. He's real good this year.
He's unbelievably good. And so is
back-to-back MVPs.
I'm just saying, Goff is perfect for the Lions. Ben Johnson and him are on the same page throughout. Yeah. Lamar Jackson he's superhuman.
But these are identities, right? The Ravens knew they're a running team. They always have been. And they knew they needed a big running back to run their offense. And the Lions, too. That's what I'm saying.
They're smashed.
So what did they do? The Lions made sure they had 2 good running backs that offset each other well.
Right.
And the Ravens went and got Derrick Henry. And so we're going to smash the ball down your throats. And Derrick Henry has found a new fire and is playing out of his mind. And that's opening up the rest of the offense for both teams. Stop us on the run. We dare you.
Because then we're going to
throw the ball.
Then we're going to pick you apart.
Right. And then once you start to have to stop the pass, we're going to run again. It's how the NFL is played. Running backs are starting to become more and more valued all of a sudden in the NFL. That pendulum is starting to swing back in a big way where you're seeing we need a running back to win in the NFL. And it was a matter of time. You knew it would figure itself out. The running back was not going to disappear from the NFL.
No, and you can't just pass 50 times a game and hope to win.
If you're the Badgers, you think you can. And that's why they lost. What was the final score again? 44-10, 42-10.
Let's talk about the
There was
Packers.
a lot. I mean, Ohio State doesn't really lose
Would
by
you
much.
shut
Normally
up?
they lose by 1 or
We're
2
talking
points.
NFL now. Okay, so the Packers
Badgers to lose by, what was it, 30-something points? It's a lot. You should probably run the ball more. What did you want to say?
really don't.
You let us know what you think in the comments below, and while you're down there, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get to enjoy this show as much as we enjoy making it.
All right.
And I love making this show and talking about how bad the Badgers look right now. Man, it's rough for you guys. What do you want to talk
brought you into this world. I'll find a way to take you out. Anyways, so the Packers had the biggest game of their year. They played the Lions. It was for the NFC North lead.
Yeah.
The Lions came in and punched them in the mouth.
Did they? Or did the Packers punch themselves in the mouth?
I think a little of both.
I picked the Packers because I always pick the Packers. I don't ever pick against them. I said I thought the Lions were going to win.
And they did.
And they did.
I picked them.
You did. That too, Brute.
Yeah, well,
You're a traitor.
I'm not a traitor
You are. You picked against your team. I mean, that's pretty much.
because
I always cheer for my team.
I'm going to pick
you
the
tell
one I
me
think
I
I'm
only
going to
cheer
win.
for winners, but yet I never don't cheer for my team. It's kind of one of those things. But it was the Packers making a lot of mistakes. You had a backup center in there, and while you have an all-pro left guard as your center, this is one thing that's weird to me. And this is one thing the Packers have done for a long time, and you're seeing other teams do this. When I was growing up, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I'm misremembering this, but you had a backup for every position on the offensive line. You had a left guard, you had a backup left guard. You had a right guard, you had a backup right guard. You had a center, especially a center. You had a center, and you had a backup center.
The Packers have always juggled their offensive line.
Not center.
Not at center, though. Putting Elton Jenkins in at center,
Why would you
I don't know.
put somebody who doesn't play center at center?
Well,
Why in the world would you ever want to do that?
he was exposed.
How do you not have a backup center?
It was exposed at the end of the game because Jenkins muffed at least 3 crucial.
3?
4, 5, 6.
He muffed a bunch of them. I had to listen to Brady go off on why you don't have a backup center.
By the way, I'm not a big Brady fan as a.
Well, it's not his
announcer yet.
fault. He can't literally do anything to prepare for his job. He can't do interviews.
Okay.
He can't talk to coaches.
We're not
He
talking.
can't go in locker rooms. Why is he doing this if he can't prepare for his job?
Sorry, squirrel. Back to this game.
I'm right.
Stop it.
I'm right.
Okay.
I'm always right. You need to learn this.
It's also Jordan Love making horrific decisions when he's under pressure. Packers were only down 10-3 with a minute left in the first half.
It's a bad throw. It was a
It
Brett
was-
Favre moment.
It was worse than a bad throw. It never should have been made. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, I just missed my receiver. It was like,
Right.
you
but it was
never
a-
should have made that throw.
It was a quarterback that's used to being able to roll out and escape from those situations, and his groin was hurt, and he
Okay.
couldn't roll out and escape, and he made a stupid play.
Okay. And in bad weather, they got to run the ball. Here's my question. Should at halftime, they should have looked at Love and gone, we aren't going to do this. We're going to let Willis take us the rest of the way.
No. You have your $58 million quarterback. You play your $58 million quarterback.
Even when he can't move and protect himself the way he usually does?
He is there to win games. Would you look at Mahomes? You just went off on how much you love Mahomes and how much he's a winner. That's what your quarterback's supposed to do, hurt or not.
I get it.
Jordan Love needs to do that.
He's-
And he was in that position if how many snaps were muffed?
Several.
I mean, that take you out of those positions immediately.
I mean,
You
they
had
were
one bad play at the end that was all on Jordan Love. Don't get me wrong. I am giving
at the end of the first half.
at the end of the first half. I'm
Then they're down 17-3.
right. It was 10-3 and then 17-3. That was all on Jordan Love. But you were put in. I do want to ask how many passes were dropped in that game?
5. At least 5.
7.
Was it 7? I said
7. They
counted
say
5.
6, but they didn't count the Bull Melton one when Branch was kicked out of the
one.
game.
We were
That was a
texting-
drop too.
We were texting back and forth. My question is, why are they trying to catch with swinging arms instead of catching with their hands?
I don't know.
I've seen that all the time.
But Wicks, I get the ball was behind him.
A little bit.
You had 2 hands on it.
Yes.
Catch the damn ball. You're paid millions of dollars to catch a damn ball. Catch the damn ball. I am sick and tired of the drop passes. The Packers have more drop passes this year than any other team in the NFL.
And yes,
it's not even close.
And yes, Jordan Love has been throwing behind him a little bit, but they're catchable balls.
If you take out the drop balls, Jordan Love has a 69% completion percentage. If you take out all the drop balls from this year, he has a 69% completion percentage. How many touchdowns are being dropped? How many first downs are being dropped?
Yeah.
They are all being dropped balls. Learn how to catch the ball.
Well, if I'm the Packers, my offense revolves around Josh Jacobs, Tucker Kraft, and Reed.
Yeah.
That's it. There's my 3 guys.
And Romeo Doubs.
Okay, fine. Put in Dobbs. But it's trying to get them to 5 different guys. Screw that. These are your studs. These are the guys who catch the ball.
It does make me feel good. I don't feel terrible about this loss for the Packers because, again, there was a lot of mistakes that cost him that game, or they're in that game.
And Love is really not able to move like he usually does.
It's perfect time for a bye week.
As long as he can get healed.
Right. But our offensive line is a mess. We need our center back. You got to catch the ball. Again, it was a lot of mistakes, or they're in that game. The Lions are a great, great team. Let's be honest. The Packers aren't a Super Bowl team this year. They're not. I'm cheering for the Packers to be a Super Bowl team, but they're not a Super Bowl team.
Here's the other thing they've got to stop. They were penalized 10 times for 67 yards, often in crucial moments. That's coaching.
Yeah.
You have got to get that under control. And that's been something ever since LaFleur is here. They are always one of the most penalized teams. That's control of the coach.
It's been that way since McCarthy was here, man.
You cannot allow that to happen. That's all coaching.
I agree. A lot of mistakes. Packers still have a pretty easy schedule the rest of the way.
They're going to be a playoff team. I think
Bears, I don't think, win another game.
They've got a rough end of the game.
I think they lose every single division game. I don't think the Bears win another game. It will be the Lions, the Packers, and the Vikings in the playoffs.
Here's my question to you. Packers had a really bad game. They aren't able to get pressure on the quarterback. And they traded away Preston Smith today?
For a 7th-round pick. I don't get it.
Can you explain it to me?
Nope. The only thing I can think of is that they have a backup in Wilson that has been playing really, really well.
He better not get hurt again.
And they want to get him more playing time.
I know it's a big...
Preston Smith was on an expiring contract. It's kind of that idea of get something for him now while you can.
Big cap hit.
They clearly wanted to get some other guys some playing time. Plus, you have your rookie in Cooper, who's been all over the field every time he's on there. That's the guy you really brought in to replace him anyway. And so from that aspect, it makes sense. I am disappointed the Packers didn't come away with a corner.
Honestly, I was hoping they would give up a second or a third to try to get somebody like a Myles Garrett.
Wasn't going to happen.
They
had a chance to get Lattimore for a second. He was traded for a third instead.
Which, if I'm the Packers, why didn't they get him?
I don't know. It's not being aggressive with your draft picks. It's always been a problem.
All right.
I watched Draft Day last night, and I want Kevin Costner as my general manager. That's all I'm saying.
You have to have an owner that puts a gun to his head.
Apparently.
Because that never needed to happen. Anyways, before we start doing lines from Draft Day, let's talk picks. Week 10. Picks guaranteed to go wrong.
Again, you say that. My picks are guaranteed to go wrong. You have like a 700 record this year.
Okay, last week we tied. We were both 3-2.
That puts me at 500, doesn't it?
You're 23-23.
That's all I ever wanted in life. I want to finish season 500. If I finish season 500, I am happy. And I'm there.
I'm 32-15.
What is going on?
I don't know. I really don't. I'm just picking the games.
Last year you had like barely a 500 record.
That was awful.
This year...
That's why we call it what we do. Picks guaranteed to go wrong.
We can't call it that anymore. We got to call it Kyle's picks guaranteed to go wrong. What is this record that you have? I'm just curious.
I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't know. I can't do math right. It's good.
I've got a above 500 record.
This is insane.
It doesn't happen often, I'll tell you that.
All right, what games do we have?
If I had to put money on this, if I was putting real money down, I'd screw it up. All right, let's talk about this week's picks.
I figured it out. You have a 680 record right now. 68% of your games are correct.
Okay. If you put money on what I'm saying, you're still foolish, but you would have won so far this year. You know, if I put money on these, I lose. The games would go the other way. God would look at me and go, no, this is not happening. Anyways, let's talk about this week's games.
All right, what do we got?
The Bengals and Ravens.
Bengals looked good last week. Joe Burrow looked like his old self, although he didn't seem very happy about it. What did I say? As soon as his hair gets darker, he's going to start playing better. The dye is wearing off, and all of a sudden, Joe Burrow is coming back to life. And I love seeing it. The Ravens are playing out of their damn mind right now. But this is a must-win for the Bengals, right? And I don't think the Ravens are invincible.
I don't either. But they still have
the Bengals
Derrick
have
Henry.
to win this.
Do you think they will? That's the whole point of the segment.
I'm going Bengals on this one. I think the Bengals are going to win the game. I'm regretting the decision already, but I'm going to go Bengals here because I know you're going to pick the Ravens.
Actually, I'm not. The Bengals looked good last week.
Well, then I made the right pick.
The Bengals looked good last week. Ravens are really, really good, but I think they may look past the Bengals a little bit.
It's at home in Baltimore.
I know. Burrow, when he's got his back against the wall, and I still think that makes a difference. I'm taking the Bengals.
All right, what's the next one?
Next one, we have Lions at the Texans.
CJ Stroud's having a bit of a sophomore slump, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
He's not playing to the level
he's playing like an Ohio State
earlier
quarterback.
this year. You shut your damn mouth. These are championship quarterbacks. You know what? Troy Smith is a Canadian Football League Hall of Famer.
Would you stop? We're Lions or Texans?
I'm just saying. Troy Smith, is the only reason he didn't start for the Ravens when he had the chance was because he got a cold and Joe Flacco played out of his mind that game.
It's like saying you're Crash Davis and Bull Durham and got the all-time minor league home run record.
Okay.
It doesn't mean anything.
How many home run records do you have in the minor leagues?
Who are you taking in this
Did you hit
game?
a home run in the minor leagues? Me either.
I couldn't.
You at least played. I did not get that
Okay.
opportunity.
Lions or Texans?
I'm on my spiel.
Yeah.
And you let me go. All right, Frenchie. I'm going to listen now. The Lions are going to win this game in Houston. I think it's going to be a close game, though.
I think
the Lions are going to win.
Lions are on a roll, and until they prove me wrong, I am going with the Lions, even though I should have used the same logic with the Ravens, but I'm not. Next game up, we got Steelers at Washington.
Should be a good game. Steelers get Mike Williams from the Jets, and that is going to, I think, be a really, really good addition for them to go with George Pickens. Russell Wilson is playing great. The defense for the Steelers is playing really good. It is at Washington, and Jaden Daniels is going to take this team to another win. I think the Washington Commanders could easily win the NFC East.
Now I'm getting worried.
Are you going Washington as well?
Washington is, every year there's that one team that does what they're not expected to do.
Yeah.
That's clearly Washington right now. The Steelers are an okay team, but they've got a lot of flaws. I'm going with the young kid on this, and I'm going with Jaden Daniels. So, yeah.
You're going to have a bad week this week.
It's going to be awful.
This could be your first losing week.
Cards at the Jets.
Jets are looking good. Cardinals are still the Cardinals. Kyler Murray is still Kyler Murray. Jets, 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 Jets. Let's go, Rodgers.
Okay. Cardinals are a better all-around team. The Jets are a mess. I'm taking the Cardinals.
You're wrong. I'm going to be undefeated this week.
Fine. Last game. Interesting game. Neither one's got a real big winning record. As a matter of fact, they don't either one have a winning record. Dolphins at the Rams. But it's an interesting game.
Tua's back. He looked good last week. They almost beat the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
Rams got both their receivers back. I'm going Dolphins here. I don't see it in the Rams anymore.
Oh, I'm not going to bet against Stafford. I'm taking the Rams. Obviously, the Packers have a bye this week. So, could be an interesting week.
You picked a lot of flyers that I chose this week.
The Bengals is the one I'm questioning, but I still think they have a chance to pull it off.
I question all my picks, so I'm just happy I chose some games you chose. You and I have had a great show, but as you know, you cannot have a conversation with your father without your dad getting the last word, so it is all you.
So by the time this video comes out, we may or may not know who the 47th president of the United States is. Either way, we all have to live in this country, and it is our country. We don't talk politics on this show with the single exception of never letting a biological male play in women's sports, because that's just wrong. So we will keep that opinion going. That being said, when I was a kid, I would talk to my friends and we would have different political opinions. Certainly in my own family, we had different political opinions. But you know what, especially with my friends, what we talked about after we talked politics for 5 minutes? Where's the party going to be this weekend? Because we were all still friends. It wasn't dividing us and tearing us apart like it does now. No matter who wins, I want them to be the best president we've ever had. If Trump wins, I want him to succeed behind our wildest dreams. If Harris wins, I want her to be an outstanding president, because if they're not, our country's going to be hurting. I don't want a president to not succeed. We've seen what's happened the last 3.5 years. It hasn't been great. So I hope either way, we're all still Americans and we all still have to live in this country. We want to be happy. So for us to be happy, the country needs to be successful. So whoever you vote for, if somebody you know voted for the other person, say, we agree to disagree and move on with your day. But let's hope whoever is the next president does really, really well.
That was good.
Yeah, you stole my line at the beginning of the show.
Because I'm smart. And I proved that. I think the biggest thing we need to remember is this is not a sport.
It's not.
This isn't Packers versus Bears here. This is for the country of the United States of America, and it is still the greatest country that has ever been invented.
It is the greatest country God ever put on this earth.
Boom. You said it better. Thank you, as always, so much for watching. This has been Sports Talk with Dad. See you next time.
Bye, everybody.